Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Diksha Bisla.
And I'm Samiksha Srivastava. On the show today, President Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum says that he agreed on a framework for a Greenland deal and has even scrapped planned tariffs on European countries over the issue. In fact, President Trump has also ruled out US military action to take Greenland. NATO chief says Greenland issue did not even come up in talks with President Donald Trump. Tracking all those developments on the show today.
But also on the show today, Israel joins the Board of Peace in Gaza to oversee reconstruction in the area. And this as Israel continues to carry out airstrikes in Gaza. 3 journalists are among 11 people who are killed in the latest airstrikes by the Israeli military. We're going to get you all the details on that as well. Stay tuned, but first a quick check of the headlines.
They're working it right now. They're working the details of the deal, but it's what's called an infinite deal. It's forever. There is no time cap.
US President Donald Trump says he has reached a framework of a deal that satisfies him on Greenland as he backs down both on threats to seize the island by force from Denmark and on imposing tariffs against European allies.
He was invited. He's accepted. Many people have accepted. I don't know of anybody that hasn't accepted.
Donald Trump says Vladimir Putin has accepted invitation to join Gaza Board of Peace. Though Kremlin says it still is reviewing the offer, Putin has instructed Russia's foreign ministry to study the proposal.
European Union Foreign Policy Chief says European Union is ready to sign defence and security pact with India. Announcement comes ahead of EU-India summit in Delhi next week, where the deal could be inked.
Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, reportedly plans to visit United States, signaling renewed U.S. engagement. Rodriguez says she is open to dialogue with Washington without fear.
Iranian authorities say 3,117 people killed during protests that first erupted in late December. But activists say that actual toll could be much higher due to a harsh crackdown.
Gaza Civil Defense says 3 journalists killed in an Israeli airstrike in the Al-Zahra area, while the Israeli military says it struck suspects operating a Hamas-affiliated drone in central Gaza.
Israeli military says it struck 4 crossings along the Syria-Lebanon border that were used by Hezbollah to smuggle weapons after earlier launching fresh strikes on the militant group in Lebanon.
Three Hong Kong activists who organized annual Tiananmen Vigil faces trial today under the national security law, charged with incitement to subversion, carrying up to 10 years in prison.
Global stocks steadied as markets digested shifting comments from Trump on Greenland. Wall Street finished higher after he ruled out using force and dropped tariff threats against Europe, easing fears of a broader trade or geopolitical conflict.
Our top focus on WION at this hour. US President Donald Trump says a deal is in sight to end the dispute over Greenland.
In fact, adding to that, Diksha, President Trump also seemed to back down from his threats to take over Greenland by force and impose tariffs on allies. The softening of tone came after President Trump held talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Davos. The meeting came hours after President Trump even addressed the World Economic Forum in Davos and demanded immediate talks to discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States.
But after meeting Rutte, the US president took to Truth Social and announced a framework deal for the entire Arctic region. He posted that an agreement had been reached to hold discussions to benefit all NATO nations. And in his post, Trump said that he will not impose his proposed tariffs against 8 nations. He also indicated that discussions would include his desire for a Golden Dome missile defense system over the region. And later he told reporters it would also cover critical minerals.
It's a deal that people jumped at. Really fantastic for the USA. Gets everything we wanted, including especially real national security and international security.
How so? Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
Earlier addressing Davos for the first time in 6 years, Trump had struck a much harsher tone. Reiterating his desire for Greenland, he had claimed that all he's asking for is a piece of ice that can play a vital role in the world peace and world protection order. Trump also called Denmark ungrateful but appeared to take the threat of military action off the table.
We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland.
Rutte said that much work remained on Greenland. He later said that he did not discuss the key issue of Danish sovereignty over Greenland in his meet with Donald Trump.
That issue did not come up anymore in my conversations tonight with the President. We very much focused on what do we need to do to make sure that that huge Arctic region, where change is taking place at the moment, where the Chinese and Russians are more and more active, how we can protect that. That was really the focus of our discussions.
NATO spokesperson Alison Hart said that Denmark, Greenland and the United States will negotiate on ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold in Greenland. Denmark welcomed the latest developments, saying Trump has sent positive signals by saying that he would not use military force to seize Greenland. Now, talking about Trump's speech at the forum, the Danish foreign minister also stressed the US president has not backed away from his threat to seize the Arctic territory.
What was quite clear after this speech is that the president's ambition is intact. Of course, it is positive in isolation that it is said that he will not use military force. Of course, that has to be noted.
Meanwhile, the Danish defense minister expressed hope that United States will participate in future NATO exercises in the Arctic.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
It's going to be good for everybody, says U.S. President Donald Trump as he announced at the World Economic Forum in Davos that the U.S. and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte had agreed on a framework for a future deal regarding Greenland and the Arctic. And as a result, he has now canceled the previously threatened tariffs on several European allies that were set to take effect on February 1st and escalate in June. The tariff threat tied tied to Trump's push for U.S. influence in Greenland, which Denmark rejects, sparked major EU backlash, including the European Parliament suspending its ratification of a U.S.-EU trade agreement. Trump ruled out a military force to take Greenland and emphasized that his national security concerns are rational and said that the future negotiations will be led by senior U.S. officials. Details, however, of the framework remains limited. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Well, President Donald Trump's Gaza Peace Board is expanding. Several world leaders are joining the board, while some invitees are taking a cautious path.
And Trump says that Russian President Putin has also accepted his invitation. Listen to this.
He was invited. He's accepted. Many people have accepted. I don't know of anybody that hasn't accepted.
The representation of Muslim and Arab countries is also increasing. Saudi Arabia and 7 other Muslim majority countries, including key Gaza mediators, Qatar and Turkey, have also agreed to join. The list also includes Jordan, Indonesia, Pakistan, and the United Arab Emirates.
Riyadh said that the group backs President Trump's peace efforts. The statement, however, made no mention of payments. Earlier reports said that invites were sent to dozens of world leaders requesting $1 billion for a permanent seat on the board.
Well, the body will be chaired by Donald Trump himself. It was originally presented as a mechanism to help end the Gaza war and oversee reconstruction, but its expanded mandate is raising questions and concerns. According to a draft charter accessed by Reuters, the board's role goes far beyond Gaza. It is designed to address conflicts worldwide.
Adding to that, the White House has already named a powerful funding executive board, which includes U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. The charter also grants Trump extensive executive authority, which includes veto powers and the ability to remove member as well. U.S. Special Envoy to West Asia Steve Witkoff confirmed that up to 25 countries have accepted invitations by President Trump so far. The list includes Israel, Bahrain, Egypt, and Hungary. In fact, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has also accepted the invitation but has objected strongly to the inclusion of Turkey and Qatar on a separate Gaza executive board operating under the board.
Now, there is also a long list of onlookers. Russia and China have not yet committed. France has indicated that it will not join. Norway and Sweden have formally declined. Meanwhile, Italy has raised constitutional concerns, while Germany, Britain and Japan have yet to take a clear public position. Canada says it agrees in principle, but details are still under discussion.
Adding to that, President Trump is now expected to even host a signing ceremony for his board of peace in Davos on Thursday.
And WION's assistant editor for foreign affairs, Siddhant Sibal,
President Donald Trump will be chairing the signing ceremony of the Charter of Gaza Peace Board. Now, the US President has sent out invites to many countries to be part of the Gaza Board of Peace Board, whatever you call it. And many countries have publicly said that they are joining it. Some have remained silent and some have declined the invite. Now, many see this initiative, a controversial initiative, as an attempt to sideline the United Nations, and that is a worrisome development. Also, the mandate of the Gaza Board of Peace is questionable. Now, it is seen as a US-led, Trump-led initiative, and while right now the focus remains Gaza, it could be in future perhaps used in other conflicts as well. The question also remains as to who will be present at the signing ceremony that takes place later today here in Davos. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibal for WION in Davos, Switzerland.
Moving on then, Gaza Civil Agency says that an Israeli airstrike killed 3 journalists in Gaza on Wednesday.
Well, the Israeli military also said that it targeted suspects who were operating a Hamas-linked drone. The journalists were identified as Mohammed Salah Kashta, Abdul Rauf Shad and Anis Ghanem. Their bodies were taken to Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Bala. The strike reportedly occurred in the Al-Zahra neighborhood, which is southwest of Gaza City, an area where civilian activity is still ongoing. According to eyewitnesses, the journalists had been using a drone to capture images of aid distribution by the Egyptian Relief Committee.
The vehicle they were in, which accompanied the aid team, was hit during the strike. The Egyptian relief group said that one of its vehicles was targeted and 3 people were killed. The Israeli military, however, said that it had identified several individuals operating a drone affiliated with Hamas in central Gaza.
What happened is a very big crime committed by the Israeli army by targeting a crew belonging to the Egyptian committee. This crew was not firing rockets nor fighting the Israeli army. The Egyptian committee's crew was in a humanitarian mission. This crew is searching day and night for a shelter to house our people.
Hamas condemned the strike, calling it a dangerous escalation and a violation of the ceasefire agreement. The attack comes amid a fragile US-brokered ceasefire that has largely reduced fighting since it took effect on 10th of October. Despite the agreement, both sides report violations. Gaza's health ministry says at least 466 Palestinians have been killed by the Israeli forces since the ceasefire began. Syrian forces and Kurdish fighters have agreed to a ceasefire, and this comes after a deadly face-off in the city of Aleppo.
And both sides have agreed to a 4-day ceasefire as well. The 96-hour window is already underway, but the agreement seems to be already crumbling. In fact, Syria's government forces are saying that the Kurds have launched attack on an arms depot in northeast of the country. At least 7 soldiers are reportedly killed, while 20 others have been wounded.
Kurdish ethnic fighters were backed by US in the fight against ISIS. Now, with the US warming up with al-Shara, the force that dealt a deadly blow to ISIS is left without support from Washington.
Well, I like the Kurds, but just so you understand, the Kurds were paid tremendous amounts of money, were given oil and other things, so they were doing it for themselves, more so than they were doing it for us. But we got along with the Kurds, and we are trying to protect the Kurds. That's correct.
This has triggered sharp reaction from Kurdish community around the world. Pro-Kurdish protesters gathered outside US House in Davos, where Donald Trump reached to attend the World Economic Forum.
Kurdish people are protesting against al-Jolani, al-Shara, and are demanding that the Kurdish region of Rojava, which is currently under Syria, be given to Kurdish people and stop the killing on the borders.
Kurdish fighters have withdrawn from large swathes of territory in north and east Syria. This includes Al-Hal camp. The facility is the largest camp for captured Islamic State jihadists. By Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, now the camp is in a desert region of Hasake province, which holds around 24,000 people.
Frontline remains frozen for now, but both sides are amassing armed men in the Hasaka province. Kurdish soldiers were seen taking positions at the rooftops.
Kurdish-dominated regions transcend boundaries of various countries in West Asia. These include Turkey, Iran, Iraq and Syria. Kurdish independence is a long-standing issue in West Asia.
The crisis in Syria has sent shockwaves across the region. Now with US aligning itself with Ahmad al-Shara-led government in Damascus, prospects of an independent Kurdish state remains in dark.
All right, moving on, the EU-Mercosur trade deal has faced a major roadblock.
The European Parliament has referred the deal to bloc's top court now. The agreement that was signed last week will now stand frozen until the decision has been taken by the top court.
And this comes after widespread protests engulfed various EU countries, where farmers took to the streets in opposition to the trade agreement. The agreement opens European markets to agriculture produce from South American bloc, which includes Venezuela, Bolivia, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay.
Just a day before the vote, thousands of farmers drove tractors around the European Parliament, blocking roads and clashing with police in mass protests against the deal. Farmers fear a flood of cheaper food imports from Mercosur countries that would undercut European agriculture goods.
Now, in a tightly contested vote, 334 members of the European Parliament votes in favour of sending the bill to judiciary, while 324 voted against. And with this vote, the Parliament has formally suspended its approval process. A final ruling from the EU's top court could take more than a year, meaning the deal is now effectively on ice.
Is carried. We vote.
All right, shifting focus then, Prince Harry returned to London's High Court on Wednesday, delivering emotional testimony in his privacy lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mail.
Well, the Duke of Sussex accused the tabloids of making his wife, Meghan Markle's life an absolute misery. Striking a defensive tone, Prince Harry, who was close to tears, told the court that it has been a horrible experience pursuing a year-long case, and this is against the Associated Newspapers Limited, the publisher of the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday. He said the litigation has only intensified the pressure on his family. Harry disputes that reporters relied on legitimate sources, insisting instead that unlawful tactics were used to publish revealing details of his private life. His case centers on 14 articles his legal team says were the product of phone hacking, bugging landlines and obtaining personal information through deception.
Harry is a lead claimant in a high-profile case joined by 6 other prominent figures, including singer Sir Elton John, actors Elizabeth Hurley and Sadie Frost. They are suing the Mail's publisher, Associated Newspapers, for violations of their privacy from the early 1990s until the 2010s. They've alleged that the publisher engaged in a clear, systemic and sustained use of unlawful information gathering for 2 decades.
Now, Associated Newspapers has denied the allegations, calling them preposterous smears. The company insists that its reporting relied on legitimate sources. It also claimed that the roughly 50 articles in question were reported with sources which included close acquaintances of the celebrities themselves.
I'm standing outside London's High Court where Prince Harry wrapped up his testimony in his phone hacking lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mail. Harry began the day under cross-examination, striking a defensive and at times combative tone, but he ended the day nearly in tears. Harry became emotional today at the end of his testimony as he discussed the toll the case had taken on his life and his family, saying it had been an utter misery for his wife, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex.
The trial in London's High Court is expected to last 9 weeks and marks the 3rd and final round in Harry's battle with Britain's tabloids. It also comes after his landmark testimony in 2023 when he became the first senior royal in more than a century to take the witness stand. That case against the Daily Mirror ended with a court ruling condemning widespread phone hacking. In fact, last year, Murdoch's flagship UK tabloid issued an unprecedented apology for intruding Prince Harry's life for years and paid substantial damages to settle his privacy invasion lawsuit. Well, meet Veronica, a 13-year-old Austrian cow who is reminding all of us that intelligence does not always look like a human mind.
Well, a clear winner when it comes to being self-reliant, Veronica has been doing something which no cow has ever been officially recorded doing before.
And when she has at her itch, she does not wait for a rub against the fence or a human to help her. Instead, she picks up a brush or a stick, positions it carefully and scratches herself. And this isn't just any random act.
Well, researchers have observed that Veronica used different parts of the same tool for different jobs. The rough bristles of the brush for her back, the smooth handle for more sensitive areas like her belly. And this behavior, as per researchers, meets the scientific definition of tool use, something which is usually seen in chimpanzees, crows and dolphins, but not cattle. Veronica is challenging the assumption that cows have limited perceptions.
Well, Veronica is displaying problem-solving skills too, and researchers say that her environment might be the key. Veronica is not just confined to a factory farm. She has a space, time and objects to interact with, giving her the very opportunity to discover solutions on her own. Science is literally scratching the surface, it seems.
And with that, it's time for us to slip into a very short break on World DNA.
And coming up after this very short break, President Donald Trump has praised India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Davos, calling him a fantastic leader and a great friend.
Also coming up on the other side, the death toll from a fire at a shopping mall in Pakistan's Karachi continues to rise. Firefighters said that they retrieved up to 25 bodies from the debris, taking the toll to around 50. All this and more coming up on the other side of World DNA. Stay tuned, you're watching WION World is One.
This is our brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of the southern Indian state.
By blending special stories of the day, breaking alerts and cultural vignettes.
From the 7 days.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Global power dynamics are changing. It is no longer just about oil or tariffs. In 2026, critical minerals will reshape geopolitics. Resource-rich nations are now strategic battlegrounds. Join us as we discuss what's at stake in this tech-based quest for dominance. With Subhash Chandra Garg, former Finance Secretary India, Rishabh Jain, Fellow, Council on Energy, Environment and Water, and Matthew L. Wall, Energy Analyst, only on WION.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with Diksha and I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Here's a look at the top headlines you're tracking this hour.
It's a deal that people jumped at. Really fantastic for the USA. Gets everything we wanted, including especially real national security and international security.
Donald Trump says a framework deal on Greenland meets his goals and will last indefinitely. Calls it fantastic for the United States, highlighting national and international security.
Vladimir Putin says Russia could fund $1 billion fee for membership in Donald Trump's Board of Peace using frozen Russian assets, potentially also allocating them for post-war reconstruction in Ukraine.
EU foreign policy chief says European Union is ready to sign defence and security pact with India. Announcement comes ahead of EU-India summit in Delhi next week, where the deal could be inked.
Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez reportedly plans to visit United States, signaling renewed US re-engagement. Rodriguez says that she is open to dialogue with Washington without fear.
Gaza civil defense says 3 journalists killed in an Israeli airstrike in the Al-Zahra area, where the Israeli military says it struck suspects operating a Hamas-affiliated drone in central Gaza.
Israeli military says it struck 4 crossings along the Syria-Lebanon border that were used by Hezbollah to smuggle weapons after earlier launching fresh strikes on a militant group in Lebanon.
Three Hong Kong activists who organized annual Tiananmen Vigil face trial today. Under the national security law, they are charged with incitement to subversion, carrying up to 10 years in prison.
South Korea's Kospi surged past 5,000 points for the first time in early trade. The rally comes despite the economy growing just 1% last year, which is its weakest since the pandemic, with AI-driven exports offsetting political turmoil and weak domestic demand.
Mohamed Salah returns to the Liverpool starting 11 as Liverpool beats Marseille 3-1. The win sees Liverpool take a huge step towards securing a top 8 place in Champions League.
He's got there. And it's in. And Liverpool have a second. All the work done by Frimpong. Overload for Liverpool.
Well, a top focus this hour, President Donald Trump has praised India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi again, calling him fantastic leader.
And also a great friend. Well, the praise amid ongoing tensions over tariffs and global trade realignment. Trump has made these remarks on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.
Responding to a question on India-US trade, Trump said that he had great respect for Prime Minister Modi and that a good deal, he said, was on the way. The statement has drawn global attention as talks between the two countries remain unfinished.
Well, the optimism comes after months of strain. Now, nearly 5 months ago, a US imposed 50% tariff on several Indian exports. Half of that was described as a penalty over India's purchase of Russian oil. Formal trade talks have continued since then, but without a final breakthrough. Recently, mixed signals emerged from Washington as US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick claimed that talks stalled due to a lack of direct contact between Modi and Trump.
Well, India quickly rejected that version and called it inaccurate. Diplomatic momentum returned after US Ambassador Sergio Gore reiterated that India remains a key strategic partner. In fact, President Trump himself has sent contrasting signals. Earlier this month, he had said that tariffs on India could be raised very quickly, but at Davos, the tone was different.
The death toll from a fire at a shopping mall in Pakistan's Karachi continues to rise.
And details coming in, Diksha, that the port city's largest fire in more than a decade broke out late on Saturday and quickly spread through the shopping complex, famous for its 12,000 family-owned stores selling wedding clothes, toys, crockery and other goods. Firefighters even said on Wednesday that they retrieved up to 25 bodies from the debris, taking the toll to around 50.
We have found 20 to 25 dead bodies, or you call them remains. We have sent them to hospital. The work for DNA analysis has started. Our medico-legal team is working on that.
Firefighters had been battling the blaze inside the mall until Tuesday, and by the time it was brought under control, Gul Plaza had reduced to a pile of ash and debris. According to a state-run rescue service, a total of 84 people have been registered missing. Police fear that most of the missing people are dead, meaning the death toll could still rise further. At the civil hospital Karachi, provincial health officials said that DNA samples from 51 families have been taken so far.
I went up and downstairs 4 times, carrying 4 or 5 bowls of remains every time. I picked up my nephews in bowls. I don't know whose bones are mixed up with theirs. The remains have been sent for DNA testing.
Small crowd paid tribute to the victims near the fire site. Some even held photographs of those believed to have been killed, while others lit candles. A government committee has launched an investigation, but the cause of the inferno was not immediately clear. While India continues to make a strong impression at the World Economic Forum underway in Davos, Switzerland.
WION's Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, spoke to Union Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, who highlighted India's ambitions in artificial intelligence. Take a look.
Breaking into various things. One is AI, which is the dominating issue here and globally as well. India is taking a lead on it. In fact, one of your clip is going viral earlier today, your meeting there. But what's the vision of India when it comes to AI and leading it at a time when this is the buzzword everywhere?
So if you look at the AI stack, it's in 5 layers. The top layer is the application layer. How do you use AI to get your return on investment? How do you use AI to have that efficiency gain, that productivity gain, that multiplier that AI can bring? Mm-hmm. That is where our IT companies have taken a big pivot away from the old software services model. Mm-hmm. And now they are working towards providing AI-based solutions to the world. Mm-hmm. We are definitely going to be the leader in this, first. Second layer is the models layer. Models today have become commodities. A model of 50 billion parameters can do 95% of the work that is required to be done, and you don't need a very large infrastructure to run a 50 billion parameter model. We are developing a bouquet of 12 sovereign models, mm-hmm. which will be focused on very specific types of problems that they can solve. Mm-hmm. And that is giving us a huge capability. Many of these models have already been tested in real environments, mm-hmm. and the results are very good. Mm-hmm. The third layer is the chip layer. Our semiconductor ecosystem is mm-hmm. developing very good. We had a semiconductor roundtable yesterday. Mm-hmm. Each and every semiconductor industry leader was mm-hmm. super happy with the performance, and it's a very, very complex thing. Mm-hmm. So we are cognizant of the difficulties that we are facing and working meticulously to solve those. The fourth layer is the infra layer. Mm-hmm. Today we have confirmed investments of $70 billion in the AI data centers. Mm-hmm. And hopefully in the coming months, we'll have another 50 billion investment coming in to India. So that will take the investment in AI data centers to 120 billion or maybe even more than that. Mm-hmm. The final layer, the fifth layer, is the energy layer. Mm-hmm. So this is where nuclear energy is going to be very important. Mm-hmm. In the fifth industrial revolution, which is going to be driven by AI, mm-hmm. energy is going to be a major, major input. Mm-hmm. So that's why our Prime Minister has given so much emphasis on getting the nuclear energy opened up and developed in a country so that we keep getting the most vital ingredient in the fifth industrial revolution. Mm-hmm. So we are working on all the 5 layers. Mm-hmm.
Imagine half the world's choking to carbon dioxide right now. And according to a new study which revealed that just 32 companies pumped out half of global CO2 in 2024.
That's actually driving the climate crisis to new heights, Diksha. Adding to that, a new carbon majors report reveals that just 32 fossil fuel companies are responsible for half of the world's carbon dioxide emissions, down from 36 last year, which essentially means that it is becoming more concentrated.
Well, 17 of the top 20 emitters are state-owned companies controlled by countries that opposed a global fossil fuel phase-out at the last UN Climate Summit, including Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Iran, the United Arab Emirates and India. Global emissions are still rising year after year. To meet the Paris climate goal, emissions must fall 45% by 2030. Now, that target is seen as out of reach.
Well, at the top of the chart remains Saudi Arabia's refinery giant, Saudi Aramco, which is responsible for 1.7 billion tons of CO2 in a single year. If it were a country, it would rank as the fifth biggest polluter on earth, which is just behind Russia. In fact, the largest investor-owned polluter is US ExxonMobil. Its emissions exceed those of some nations as well.
Now, the same data is being used in courts of law, linking specific companies to deadly heat events and trillions of dollars in damage. From Europe to the United States, big polluters are being told to phase out or pay up. Clean energy investment is rising, nearly double that of fossil fuel. Yet, carbon giants continue to expand.
Well, global trade is splitting into two sharply different parts, and that is the detail that we are getting.
Right, Samiksha, and with America's effective tariff rate now above 11% and China's down to just 1.3%, trade policy is fast becoming a tool of geopolitical influence and not just economics. We're going to leave you with this report, which has all the details. Take a look.
US President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff increases are reshaping global trade and rattling markets. Washington's effective tariff rate surged to 11.2% in 2025, the highest level since 1943. This comes after months of duties imposed on dozens of countries on economic and national security grounds. In sharp contrast, China is moving in the opposite direction. Beijing's average effective tariff rate fell to just 1.3% last year, according to the Economist Intelligence Unit, highlighting a growing policy divide between the world's two largest economies. China's low tariff strategy is tightly linked to its industrial needs. Beijing applies low or zero duties on key commodities such as crude oil, natural gas and iron ore, inputs that account for the bulk of its imports and power its manufacturing sector. By keeping import costs down, China ensures steady access to energy and raw materials from across Africa, Asia and South America. Economists say this approach has helped China secure willing overseas suppliers while keeping domestic production costs competitive. Beyond economics, tariffs have become a geopolitical tool. China has pledged zero tariffs on most imports from African nations and has already eliminated duties on goods from 43 least developed countries, presenting itself as a stable and open trading partner. The strategy contrasts with US protectionism and helps Beijing deepen ties across the developing world, often alongside infrastructure investments that support resource extraction. Analysts say China's positioning is clear: to make it look more reliable than the United States at a time when trade policy is increasingly shaping global alliances. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
Well, moving on to the world of tech then, Meta has said that its new artificial intelligence lab has delivered its first major AI models inside the very company.
And the announcement was made by Meta's Chief Technology Officer, Andrew Bosworth, at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And speaking at the summit, he said that the models were developed by Meta's Super Intelligence Labs team, which was formed last year as part of Meta's effort to strengthen its AI capabilities. Bosworth said that the models had shown a lot of promise. He said the team was only about 6 months into its work, but the results so far were very good.
In December, media reports said that Meta was developing several new AI systems. These include a text-based model codenamed Avocado, and an image and video-based Model 2, codenamed as Mango.
Bosworth did not confirm which models have been delivered internally. Mega's AI push is being closely watched after CEO Mark Zuckerberg made huge changes to the company's AI leadership. The company has also set up the new lab and hired top talent with high pay offers. Meta is hoping that these moves will help it compete in the fast-moving AI race. The company has faced criticism over the performance of its Llama 4 AI model. Bosworth said the technology is still not finished. He said a lot of work is needed after training AI systems to make them practical and easy to use for both staff and consumers. However, he added that Meta's big AI investments from last year are now starting to show positive results. And we have some breaking news coming in from New Zealand. Several people are missing after a landslide smashed into a campsite in its northern region.
In fact, details coming in that the police and rescuers are looking for multiple missing people. They say that the number of people missing was in the single figures. Images on local media platforms showed mud engulfing campsite at the foot of Mount Maunganui.
Well, the landslide was likely triggered by heavy rains. Homes were evacuated and roads closed as the heavy rain hit almost the entire eastern border of the North Island. The downpour also caused widespread damage and left thousands without power. The landslide happened at around 9:30 a.m. local time, sending rubble barreling down on the campsite. Meanwhile, emergency services are working to locate anybody who remains in the area, with New Zealand police saying that it was still possible to find someone alive. For our viewers who are just joining us, this is the latest we're getting from New Zealand. Several people are missing after a landslide smashed into a campsite in its northern region. Police and rescuers are looking for multiple missing people. They said that the numbers of people missing was in the single digits so far, and images on local media showed mud engulfing campsite at the foot of Mount Maunganui. The landslide was likely triggered by heavy rains. Homes were evacuated and roads closed as the heavy rain hit almost the entire eastern border of the North Island. The downpour also caused widespread damage and left thousands without power. It happened at 9:30 a.m. local time, sending rubble barreling down the campsite. Emergency services are working to locate anybody who remains in the area, with New Zealand police saying that it was still possible to find someone alive.
On to other news then. Hand-painted on a cave in Indonesia may well be world's oldest known rock art.
And according to archaeologists, it could have been created at least 67,800 years ago.
And the ancient hand stencil was discovered in a limestone cave popular with tourists on Muna Island. It was sandwiched between more recent paintings of animals and even other figures. The stencil was most likely created by the ancestors of indigenous Australians. The tan-coloured prints were analysed by Indonesian and Australian researchers on the island of Sulawesi. The hand stencils were made by spraying mouthfuls of ochre mixed with water over a hand pressed to the cave wall.
At this point in time, it is now officially the oldest known cave art in the world, which is really cool. I suspect it'll probably lose its title at some point in 2026, because again, as we're expanding using uranium series, as we're starting to just better understand how old some of the art is, I think more art which is contemporary to it will probably start to emerge.
And shifting our focus to sports now, where Bangladesh's request to move their matches from India at next month's T20 World Cup have been rejected by the International Cricket Council.
Well, the ICC has given the country's cricket board time until today to come up with a final answer, that is, if they want to be part of the tournament or not.
And at a meeting on Wednesday, the ICC board voted to replace Bangladesh if they remain firm on their stand of not playing their matches in India. The meeting was attended by the directors of all full members, including Bangladesh Cricket Board President Aminul Islam Bulbul. It is understood that only Pakistan backed the BCB. After the meeting, the ICC asked the Bangladesh Cricket Board to inform the country's interim government of their decision and respond within a day's time. If Bangladesh don't budge, then Scotland is likely to replace Bangladesh in Group C at the World Cup.
Well, following the board meeting, the ICC released a statement, and quoting that statement, the ICC board noted that it was not feasible to make changes to close the tournament and that altering the schedule under the circumstances, if the absence of any credible security threat, could set a precedent that would jeopardize the sanctity of future ICC events and even undermine its neutrality as a global governing body, end of quote.
Well, the ultimatum by the ICC comes a day after PCB offered their backing to the Bangladesh Cricket Board. They also informed all the other boards that they stand by Bangladesh, and the timing of the PCB's email does raise eyebrows. The PCB chief, Mohsin Naqvi, was also part of the meeting that took place in which the decision was communicated to the Bangladesh Cricket Board. The PCB has not publicly commented on the matter so far.
Well, Bangladesh has refused to travel to India for the T20 World Cup and has cited security concerns for the same. Bangladesh remained firm on its stance despite several meetings with the ICC over the past few days. Cricket's global governing body insists that the original schedule must go ahead as planned, with less than 3 weeks remaining for the tournament to begin.
The entire saga began when Bangladesh pacer Mustafizur Rahman was removed from the Kolkata Knight Riders squad in the IPL following a BCCI directive. The Indian Cricket Board did not provide an official reason for the directive, but it came amidst escalating diplomatic tensions between India and Bangladesh. India has repeatedly flagged concerns about crimes against the Hindu minority community in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh's captain, who is Hindu, Liton Das, says that players are in the dark about Bangladesh's participation at the World Cup. He even earlier, in fact, he'd refused to comment about the situation, but now it seems that his team might miss the tournament altogether. Well, Hollywood star Channing Tatum and his team behind the Broadway-style show Magic Mike Live have unveiled their upcoming New York production.
Now, the show blends dance and live entertainment, promising an experience that entertains while also empowering its audience. Tatum says that the new production has been shaped by years of audience feedback, especially from women. The goal, he says, is to deliver the physical spectacle that the franchise is known for without crossing comfort levels. The show will feature close interactions between performers and the audience, all within a broader creative vision built over a decade of live productions.
And, you know, I've been to the other shows, and that's kind of why we wanted to make this show, is because we wanted to actually empower women and women to feel good.
The creative team says that the production brings together a diverse range of dance styles from hip-hop and Latin to jazz as well. The athletic ensemble will move through the space, blurring the line between stage and audience. Producer Vincent Marini says that the team is hoping for a long New York run, following the show's successful residencies in Las Vegas and London. Production will be staged in a newly renovated custom-built venue near Times Square, complete with adjoining lounge spaces designed to turn the night into a full experience. That's created and directed by Tatum. The 90-minute show begins previews on October 8th with an official opening set for 22nd of October, marking Magic Life's big move into the heart of New York City.
And China's winter is in full display. Shanghai witnessed its first snowfall of the year and having tourists relax in hot springs at minus 25 degrees.
And this is while the stunning scenes have emerged, leaving you with the visuals. Take a look.
是的，孔耀欣赏今年的。
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Global power dynamics are changing. It is no longer just about oil or tariffs. In 2026, critical minerals will reshape geopolitics. Resource-rich nations are now strategic battlegrounds. Join us as we discuss what's at stake in